Welcome to the home of the DIY movement, where we build stuff and paint things.
All right, y'all, welcome back. It's way back Wednesday again, man, where we last left off, man. We got a little jumbled up because there was a point in time where I had, I want to say 3, maybe all 4 at the same time, but I want to say it was 3 cars at the same time, so I might have got a little mixed up on the timeline. But I do remember now that I sold this car to a guy from Imperial's Club, El Paso, Texas. And he sent a guy with a trailer to come pick it up. El Paso's like 12 hours away, at least 12 hours west, way in West Texas. And guy showed up, man, and loaded up the car, no questions asked. The money was in the bank and the car was gone, right? So at the time, I want to say maybe we weren't quite ready to move, or it wasn't manifesting, you know, the idea hadn't manifested it to actually get up and move. So I had a good chunk of money, you know, in my pocket from the sale of the Cadillac. So, you know, as usual, man, I'm on Craigslist. I keep telling y'all boys, Craigslist used to be a thing, still is. Not as much as it used to be, but it used to be a thing, man. I'm on Craigslist searching Impala, searching Lowriders, searching, you know, wheels and whatever. And this car was on there on Craigslist. I want to say it was in Belleville, Texas, which is like an hour and 20 minutes maybe out towards like Brenham, if I remember right. And you know, it was on, I saw it in the morning, and I remember telling my friend at the time on a phone call that the guy wanted I want to say $7,000 for the car. I said, man, if that car is still for sale by the time I get off work, I'm gonna go buy that car tonight. Like, if it's a for real listing, a for real ad, and legit, then I'm gonna go buy that car tonight if it's still available, right? He was like, I think it's fake. I think it's fraud. I don't think it's fake. That's what he kept saying. Or, you know, it's gonna be gone by the time you get there, you know, because back then, man, you had to act quick. You still, in fact, today you need to act quicker, right? Well, let me rewind, man, about acting quicker. Today, most cars are sold before they're even posted. Okay, you guys watched the Shop Talk a while back, man. It's probably been about 2 years where I speak on artificial inflation. Okay, artificial inflation is a thing, man. You got groups of guys on social media that have a car. They'll sell it to one of their friends for X amount of dollars, say 10 grand. They'll turn around and list it online, and they'll put it for 18 grand. And in 4 hours, they'll mark it sold, have a picture of it on the trailer, hauling it off as if it's sold for 18 grand. But really, that car was sold for much less to somebody they know. And now they have artificially inflated the market for the next time they get one. And they get one similar, and they sell it for maybe more, list it for more, and sell it to somebody unsuspecting, because they're not in the inner circle. And that unsuspecting person is under the impression that that is the market, the price is the market, and they go ahead and buy it. And that seller laughs all the way to the bank, man. And if you can sit there and not believe me if you want, but I've witnessed it myself. So artificial inflation is a thing, man. Anyways, man, this 63 right here was on Craigslist for 7 G's. Really don't have a lot of pictures of this car. I might have 10. But I do remember I got off work. I called the guy, man. I called the guys. Man, is the car still available? Yeah, it's here, man. You know, yeah, I've got a lot of interest in it. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to get off work, and I need to go to the bank, get some money, and I'm gonna call you. I'll call you when I get home. And he was like, all right, you know, you're the first one, you know, I'll give you my word. All right. So at the time, my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, she's my girlfriend, live-in girlfriend, called her and I said, hey, we might have to go somewhere when you get home, you know, go pick up this car. Okay, well, okay. Didn't tell her where it was at or how far it would be, but I remember the kids were real small back then, right? So we were kind of on this routine. It's like, get home, she picked the kids up, get home, we eat, kids do homework, go to bed, you know what I mean? And that was it. That was the day. And I was like, man, I remember she got home in the evening, and it was a real bad weather forecast that night, right? That evening. But I was like, man, I got to go get this car. So we drove, we loaded up, we took the kids with us, and we drove out to Belleville. It was already dark. And the guy, you know, I had cash. I had $7,000 cash, which, you know, that's a respectable amount of money. And I was like, man, I'm meeting this guy at night, you know, from Craigslist with cash. You know, we took pistol with us. And I told the guy, you know, where do you want to meet? And the guy was like, well, I can meet you at I want to say we met at the church parking lot. So I'm like, all right, you want to meet at, all right, okay, the church parking lot. Okay, that can easily be a super safe place, or it could be a setup, right? So you know, he gave us the address or whatever, and we got there. And I remember, you know, telling my wife, I'm like, man, if anything goes south, you know, all you got to do is aim this thing and pull the trigger. You know what I mean? And she was like, all right. So she stayed in the car, and I got out, you know, and you know, the guy was, you know, not what I was anticipating. It was a real honest, you know, wholesome guy, you know, zero threat, you know. But you know, if you grew up, you know, in the hood or whatever, you know, you're always thinking, you know, what could happen anyways. So I started talking to the guy, man, and you know, the car was right there, man, 63, and this thing was bone stock. When I say bone stock, man, I mean original paint. That is original paint. I want to say that was Adobe beige with ermine white hardtop. Super bone stock, super original paint. Man, I want to say the only rust it had was down on the passenger side lower fender, because the thing had air conditioning and it actually worked. But outside of that, man, doors and everything, quarters and everything were bone dry, man. This thing was a gem, right? And I was like, man, wow, I gotta have this, you know. So I bought it. Man. I paid the dude, you know, we signed the title or whatever, paperwork or whatever, right there in the church parking lot. And man, I jumped in, you know, and I told her, you know, follow me, or, you know, don't leave me behind or whatever. And we got on the highway, man. And as soon as we got on the highway, man, did it start raining, man. It was bad. It was like a cold front blowing through, like a damn tropical storm type rain, right? And I'm in this 63, man. Didn't know the wipers work or not. Didn't know if the horn worked. Didn't know, you know, if the lights work, or, you know, I just jumped in and got going, right? So, man, you know, it started pouring down rain. I clicked that little wiper, and man, the wipers worked. All right, we in business. And yeah, man, we're just tooting right along, coming home. And man, the windows did not leak, because I mean, it was all original, man. Original weather strip, original roof rail, vent window weather strip. Everything was original and in really good shape. I drove that car home in the pouring rain for like an hour and a half, and we didn't get home until, man, probably about 11 o'clock at night, right? When back then it was like, you know, bedtime, you know, for the kids it was bedtime at like 7:30, you know, like they were real small. And man, so our whole schedule was thrown off. You know, it's 11 o'clock. We're getting home. We still haven't eaten. You know, no shower, homework, none of that. kind of selfish of me, but we made it happen, man. We made it happen, and I drove that car home from Belleville, Texas. 63 was by far the most original, unmolested car I've ever owned. I mean, the 64 that I built on the channel, the blue 64, which was the first car of the channel, was really close. but it was disassembled. Whereas the 63, I would say, was in the same, ballpark, but this thing was assembled and running and driving original. Like, man, look at the fender to the hood gap. Look at the hood lip to the eyebrow molding. Like, man, the hood to the wiper cowl molding. Just factory fresh, man. Factory fresh. Not perfect, because they were never perfect, but as good as you can get it. As good as GM cared to get it, at least. Original hubcaps. Didn't have a grill guard or anything like that, but man, was it clean. Here's another shot of the car. You see a little bit of primer right there on the quarter panel. That was just rattle can primer, and you can see the paint starting to deteriorate right there in the middle of the quarter panel. But as far as rust, man, there was no rust. There was no rust behind that sail panel molding, the stainless belt line. Door shut. I remember, actually, now that I mentioned the door shut, those doors would close. You can shut that door with one finger. You didn't have to slam it. You didn't have to like pick up on the handle to make it close. It was nothing, man. You just, especially right there, that house that we used to live in, the driveway was kind of like on an incline. So, man, I would just get out and the door would close itself. That's how good it was. Like, the door would close itself, and it would like completely latch, like it wasn't just like and be stuck halfway open. The thing would just go and the door was shut, man. And man, was that a good car, man. But back then I'm not, and still am, I'm not a car collector, man. I'm a lowrider, right? So then we had to make a decision. Here's another picture of the interior, and since somebody says I like to go on YouTube and lie about cars that I used to have, you see the AC vent right there, and seat belts, and the AC did work, but it wasn't cold. It blew. It didn't even blew cool, it just blew. But I was really surprised, man. You hit, you move the knob and air started coming out the vent, man. Padded dash, seat belts, AC, original carpet, just 100% original car, man. Two-tone at that. And I remember I didn't have this car very long at all, man. I might have had this car like maybe a month. And it was fun. I'd buzz it around the neighborhood. I'd get off work on Friday and I'd jump in and go get something to drink or go get some meat to cook for for Friday or Saturday or whatever. That's basically what I used the car for. Buzz around in, really, with no destination. And it was short-lived. Another shot of the interior there, man. Original seat covers. Steering wheel started showing a little bit of wear. The sail panel looked a little bit wrinkled, but man, I mean, you're talking about an original car, man. And like I say, $7,000, man. And in today's market, with the little 283 and the Power Glide, man, people would ask $30,000 for this car, maybe even more, which just blows my mind, because it's like, okay, so you bought it for 30 grand. Well, what do you do with it then? Do you keep it as is? Do you restore it? Because if you restore it, then it's not, you're losing your money. Do you make it a lowrider? Because then, I mean, you got to have a paint job. You got to start, polishing, trim, and all that. You lose your money. So it's kind of like, this car right here is a good topic, because the price, when people shop for cars like this, original, people like to brag about original cars, but what does an original car mean to somebody who's going to buy it and customize it? The originality of the car is null and void. It shouldn't mean anything. It shouldn't have any value. If you're going to buy it and restore it, you're going to buy it for 25, 30 grand and take it off the frame and restore it and rebuild the 283, and the Power Glide, and it's not an SS and this and that. I mean, what's it really worth in the end? You're going to spend way more, to restore it than what it's going to be worth. Yeah, look at that box brace, man. Look at that quarter panel seam. Look at the original floor jack. Like bone stock, man. And super dry. I don't know where this car was sitting or what. I mean, the one day that I saw it pop up on Craigslist is the day that I went to go buy it, and the guy had title in his name. Yeah, look at the trunk gutter, man. Like, that's original weather strip, and there's no rust. Like, zero, man. Like, you can literally, like, I mean, there's a little bit of surface rust, but you can literally, like, scuff and shoot that, you know, and be good. So, man, what a good car, man. That was a really good car. I'm glad I bought it. And we drove, you know, what, 3.5 hour, almost 4 probably by the time we got home. Round trip in the rain, torrential rain, to get that car. Yeah, back then I wasn't really good at taking pictures. Like, hardly any pictures of the entire car. But, man, look at the fender to door gap. Look at the door to quarter panel gap. Look at the way the windows roll up. You know, like, man, everything about that car was bone stock. Like, and what's even more crazy is I parked that thing in the driveway. It didn't leak any oil. It was a really good car, man, for $7,000, believe it or not. Last picture here, man, for this car. I remember when I got the car, I was like, man, I want to build it, you know, like I want to chrome it all out and, you know, chrome all the aluminum and wrap the frame. And, you know, I kind of was a couple years ahead of myself on what I wanted to do and what I was capable of doing, not only financially, but, you know, physically, or, you know, with the tools and the space and stuff. Obviously I didn't have space. I had a car in the garage. I had 2 cars in the driveway. I had a storage for 1 car, and then I had an outside storage for a car hauler. So I had more cars than I had space and really, you know, money. So, you know, I seeing the Regal there, I want to say at that point the Cadillac was gone. I used that money to buy the 63. And I had the 63 for a little bit. ESOC was like, man, I really want that 63. I'll give you the big body back for it. And I was like, man, I don't know, man, this thing is clean, you know. And he was like, well, I did some work to the big body. Like, I bought the Daytons for it. I put had a stereo system installed. It's still exactly the same. Like, there's no dents or anything, nothing new, you know, and I'll bring it to your house. And I was like, all right. So I did that, and I traded the 63 back for the big body, right? Because I really liked that big body, and I kind of regretted selling it. So in my mind, I was like, you know, I'm getting the big body plus like a brand new set of Daytons and some stereo equipment, so that's kind of like a win. So I did it. And man, you know, I mean, the car was fun. The 63 was cool. But like I said previously, man, you have to ask yourself, what do you want to do with the car? If you want to tear it all apart and redo it, then that's not the car to do it to. I mean, unless you have, you know, a lot of money to do it. But if you want to make it a lowrider and wrap the frame and, you know, and do all that, you know, then maybe get a project for a little bit less. And I'm speaking in today's terms. I mean, back then this car was $7,000, and if I had the opportunity to buy that, I would buy 4 of them, you know. But them days are over, and like I say, now people are going to want $30,000 for that car, which is kind of disgusting. Because one thing is, you know, when people advertise that it's a 1-owner car, the title should be in their name when you go to get it, and usually it's not, because it's not a 1-owner car, it's a 2-owner car, and they bought it from the original owner, but they're too cheap to put that car in their name. You know, that costs money. You got to pay taxes and all that hassle. It's easier just to flip it and call it a 1-owner car, when really it's not. It's a 2-owner car, and when you buy it, it's going to be a 3-owner car. So the guy did have the title in his name on this car. I don't know if it was a 1-owner, but it damn sure looked like it. But anyways, man, that's this week's Wayback Wednesday. Next up is going to be that Regal you see in the driveway, and that Regal is going to be the last car at the 1-car garage that I had, and I learned a whole lot with that car. I even used to do some gold plating. So hope you guys enjoyed this little episode here at Wayback Wednesday. Y'all stay tuned for the next one. We're going to talk about the 85 Limited Regal.